How to lead from where you are. Navigating influence and decision-making. Introducing Dr. Terry Noland.
Thank you. I am so glad to be here with you today. Anytime I do a presentation, I can't even tell you how much I think about you. I truly, truly think about you. I meditate, I think about the people that will be in the room and hoping that the words that I say and deliver are going to impact you in a really big way. Are you going to take away everything I say? No, but hopefully you can take away something that I say that ignites something inside of you that goes back and changes the life of a child. See, because this is about changing the lives of children. It's not about us. It's not about you. In fact, I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, it's not about you. I want you to turn to that neighbor and say, it is about our children. Because absolutely, it is about our children. Now, today, as we go into how to lead from where you are, navigating that decision-making, navigating influence, I'm going to be talking about things that we need to believe in. Because we've got to believe. I'm a big believer in belief. In fact, I'm what's called a possibilist. I love making up words. That's a made-up word. I'm a possibilist. Okay, I believe a lot of stuff. So I was, it was a friend of mine. She was at a basketball game, and it was a crosstown rivalry. The girls were playing crosstown rivalry. And so it was at the end of the game. And you know how with these crosstown rivalries, all the fans are there, and it had gotten down to the wire, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so my friend said that the side that she was sitting on, the entire crowd started to chant in unison, "We believe, we believe, we believe." And so there was an older gentleman sitting right next to her, and he looked over at her and said, "Well, if Reba Lee can shoot, put her in the game." See, he's heard it as Reba Lee. He thought the crowd was chanting, "Reba Lee, Reba Lee." And he wanted to know why she wasn't in the game, okay? So here's what I'm going to say to you. I know we're mostly women in here, but men, you can take on this name as well. You're Reba Lees, and I'm putting you in the game, okay? You're all Reba Lees, and we're going to put you in the game. So today, we are going to be talking about believing in certain things. And I love using quotes from movies, from literature, to bring a little levity to our conversation today. And I got to tell you something about myself, okay? First and foremost, you know I'm not from California just by my accent. I'm from Texas, okay? So Texas is 2 hours ahead. So at 1 o'clock last night, I woke up. Like, when is this night going to be over? Oh, my goodness. At 3:30, I woke up like, oh, my goodness, are you kidding me? This night's not over? Because remember, it's 2 hours ahead. Because I set my alarm every morning for 5:07. Every single morning. I get up at 5:07. And I do that intentionally, and so many people have asked me why. And because I want to start my day with high performance habits. And one of my high performance habits is getting up and doing things that other people are not willing to do. So I get up at 5:07. It's my reminder to be extraordinary. Don't do what other people do, because you'll get what other people get. What time do most people set their alarms for? The 15-minute mark, the 30-minute mark, the top of the hour mark, whatever it is. You won't be reminded to be remarkable that day. Okay? Be remarkable. Do things people are not willing to do. So I get up and I go to the gym every single morning and I work out. And I do that intentionally to clear my head, get my thoughts prepared for the day, and make sure that I have something in my ears that I'm listening to that's going to get me fired up for the day. Podcast, books, whatever it is. So I encourage you to, do you need to do what I do? No. But maybe you could take some little nugget from that. Guess when I go to the grocery store? I go to the grocery store about 5:30 on Sunday mornings. Guess who's there with me? The cleaners and the stockers. Not the stalkers, the stalkers, okay? I guess there could be stalkers there at that time of the morning. Guess what parking spot I get? The very front one. I'm not having to fight with anybody. You see, because I don't want to do what other people do, because I'm going to get what other people get. And in this world of changing literacy, we cannot do what we've always done because we will get what we always have gotten. That's why it requires leaders to take hold of this situation and say, I am not going to accept mediocrity. I won't accept it. So the very first quote I want to start out with is from Lewis Carroll. Sometimes I believe 6 impossible things before breakfast. That's me, because I think big thoughts when I'm up at that time of night. Right? See, I believe 6 impossible things, but I'm going to say, Lewis, I'm not so sure. Can I change your statement? Can I change it to sometimes I believe 6 possible things? Because remember, I'm a possibilist. You need to be a possibilist. You need to believe that we can do this work because we can do this work and our children count on us. So in order to kind of get us in the understanding of what it feels like to believe in something, I want to show a video, okay? Because it's going to give you all the feels. I promise it's going to give you all the feels. And it's going to help you understand what believing in something looks like, feels like, sounds like, okay? So it wasn't this Kentucky Derby this year in May. It was last year's Kentucky Derby. And the last year's Kentucky Derby, there was a horse that was an alternate. And so the race was going to kick off at 9 a.m. And that horse that was the alternate, at 8:30, they got a call. They weren't at the gate, at the chutes. They got a call and said, nope, we don't need, all the horses are here. We're not going to need an alternate. And so that team started packing up, and they were ready to go. I mean, they were going to watch the Kentucky Derby. They were there, but they started packing their gear. And at 8:50, 10 minutes before the race, they got a call and said, y'all are up. They had 10 minutes to get to that gate, get that horse ready. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you how this story ends. That horse won the Kentucky Derby. Okay? Let's watch. I'll come back to that. Let's watch this.
We welcome you to the 148th Kentucky Derby.
To me, we won just getting in. We've never been there before. We might not ever get back again. There was no pressure.
The long shot of the race, Rich Strike.
And my biggest thing was I wanted respect for Richie after the race.
And the odds are really long. It's 79 to 1. But what have we learned about the Derby? You never know.
They're off. And the Kentucky Derby.
I didn't think he would win the race. I thought he could win the race.
As they race by us for the first time, it will be Summers tomorrow, filling the way.
And I said, Eric, if we can just finish in the middle of the pack, look what an accomplishment we have.
That winning pack miles, whoa, blazing fast.
I said, Sonny, if you can turn for home with 6 or 7 in front of you, you can win.
Now Epicenter is moving up quickly.
He's exactly where you had envisioned it and felt like he was good enough to win it.
I lost Richie. I could not see him anywhere.
I found a lot of traffic. And then I say I have to wait to the stretch.
And all of a sudden there's a gap. And I said, Sonny's going to take that gap. I know he is. If he doesn't, he'll regret it for the rest of his life.
Epicenter and Brandon, these two, Everett Run.
The last one I expected to be making that lead move was Rich Strike.
This is the moment. Epicenter repelled Sandan's bid.
I didn't switch at the center, and the horses are on the lead. I don't even see them.
Man, he just kicked in and hit another gear.
15 yards before the wire, I say, I think I got that race.
Oh my goodness! The longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby! Has done it in a stunning, unbelievable upset!
I grabbed my dad and I shake him. I said, Dad, we just won the Kentucky Derby.
Absolutely unbelievable. That was the biggest thrill I've ever had in my life, standing there watching his horse pass that finish line.
That's one of the biggest upsets in the history of the Kentucky Derby. Friday morning at 8 a.m., this horse was not in the race.
This is the most unbelievable day ever. Impossible.
It's not about me. It's not about Sonny. It's not about my team. It's about Richie. He is this miracle that shouldn't be there, but he's the one that did all the work. He just can't do all the talking.
I love showing that video mainly because it's so fun to watch people in the audience because you're like, oh my goodness. And I told you he won, but you're still kind of nervous. You're still kind of nervous, like, oh my goodness, did he really win? There's two statements in that I want to point out. I'm not sure if you caught, but one is from the owner that said, I thought he could win the race. I thought he could. That's belief. And the second came from the young girl that said, and when Sonny was going to take that gap, and I knew he would. Do our children have gaps? Take the gaps, my friend. We got to close them. We got to close them. And if there are gaps there, we've got to stand up and do whatever we can to take that gap, because that's what our children need. I told you I'm from Texas. This morning, I probably at 1, I don't know what time it was when I woke up, but I thought, well, okay, let me see where California ranks in our nation compared to Texas. And I can stand up here and say, we both rank at the bottom. Y'all know that. We both rank at the bottom. And you know what? We are 2 of the states in our country out of the 3. It's Florida, Texas, and California that lead the nation that other states follow. And we are the ones that have failing scores and failing our children. I can say that because I'm from a state that's doing it too. Not because we haven't done some good things, but because we have not led the work well. That's what we're going to talk about today. Leading the work well. Here are the things that we are going to believe in today. We're going to believe that everybody in this room is a leader. I don't care what your title is. You're a leader. Okay? We're going to believe that. We're going to believe that leadership begins with growth and learning. We're going to believe that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You can lead from where you are. We're going to believe that mindset matters. And we're going to believe in some characteristics that are always going to get noticed, okay? So those are the things that we will believe in today. We're going to believe that you are the leader. So I got to ask a question. How many in this room have a title of being a building leader? Principal, assistant principal, a director of curriculum and instruction, a title that says, I am a leader in a building. Oh, do we not? Oh, we have some. Okay, awesome, awesome. So how about those of you that are like reading specialists in the room? Okay, we got some of you. How about special educator, general educator? Who am I missing? Counselors, maybe? Who else am I missing? Teacher, yeah, general educators, special educators, teachers, yeah, okay. All right, every single one of you in this room are a leader. So let's define that, what it means to be a leader. Well, first, I got to tell you, here's my quote from literature. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Up, 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 faster and faster and faster and faster. the little engine climbed until at last they reached the top of the mountain. See, many of us in this world, we're starting at the bottom of the mountain and don't see that we can get there as far as leadership goes. Leadership is a mindset. Leadership is not a title. Because I know a lot of positional leaders that do not have the qualities and the characteristics of being a leader. So we have to understand that. And we've got to understand that it's all about moving up, growing and learning, because I can be the leader, okay? We're all leaders in our own right. So this is Miss Braden. One of the things that I do, I live in West Texas, and one of the things that I do is I tutor children. Not because I'm running a tutoring business, I'll tell you that right now, because I do not want to tutor children. I don't have time to tutor children. I'm running all over the place, all over this country. I don't have time to tutor children, but I do it because in the spring I get calls from crying mamas. We just learned that, Braden just got diagnosed with dyslexia. She got her diagnosis the Friday before the world shut down in kindergarten. So I tutor them out of necessity because our schools are not doing what they need to be doing. Not because they're not working hard, but because I think they've not seen the urgency of what we do need to do to change our systems. So I was sitting here one day in front of Braden, and here we are working on some CVC words down here. And, I'm explaining all of that to her, and she's reading these words, and she looks up at me and she says, Miss Terry, my confusion teacher doesn't tell me to do it that way. And I like, she took me back. I was like, what? What did you just say, Braden? My confusion teacher doesn't tell me to do it that way. And it finally dawned on me what she was saying. My inclusion teacher doesn't tell me to do it that way. That was the moment, a life-changing moment for me, and out of the mouths of babes, right? Because we are putting our children at the center of confusion. That's on us. That is not on that child. That is on us to put the child at the center of confusion when 6 hours a day she's sitting in a classroom where maybe the teacher doesn't have the knowledge to understand short vowels, long vowels. We are following a scope and sequence of evidence-based practices. And we're just, well, sweet baby Braden, why don't you just guess at that word? You've seen that word before. Just recall what it is. Oh, I thought we had memorized that word. You know, all of the things that we know to be true. So it was in this moment that I thought, we do not in our country have a literacy crisis. Now, you may be saying to yourself, isn't that what we've heard in Ed Week? And, all over the New York Times have been telling us that. The big people in our country have been saying that we have a literacy crisis. No, my friends. We don't have a literacy crisis. We have a leadership crisis. That's big. That's big. And that is not saying it's on the superintendent, it's on the principals. It's on every one of us in this room. Because if we had been the ones to step up and design systems that work for children, Braden would not be sitting at the center of confusion. That's on us. See, we're the ones that need to say, no more. No more. I'm not going to take it. I'm going to stand up for the Bradens in our world. So what do we do about it as leaders? This is where we need to make change. I'm a Maxwell certified coach. John Maxwell, he is one of the greatest leadership writers, not only in our country, in our entire world. And he says this: leadership is not about titles, positions, or flow charts. It's about one life influencing another. Okay? So let's just set those titles aside. Anybody can be a leader. It's really great when you have a position because that comes with a little bit of authority. I've done that in my own life as well. I was in the classroom. I didn't know a thing about teaching reading. Trust me, I didn't. I led a school building, right? See, I need to understand that leadership is about me and who I am and the qualities and characteristics I have. It's not about title. And so also, if we're the teachers in the room and we use this phrase a lot, well, they did this and they said that. Has anybody ever done that? You don't have to raise your hand. I'll raise my hand for all of us in this room. They. First of all, who is they? I don't know. Okay, see, we got to start accepting responsibilities here. All right, so at your tables or with your teams, I want you to start to think about leadership in a new way. We know it's not about titles and positions. What is it about? So talk about 3 words that come to mind when you think of leadership. Just do a little table talk right here. All right, I'm going to bring the room back together. And I would love to hear some of the comments from some of the tables. If there is a willing person that would want to share what your table talked about. Is there a willing person? And if there's not a willing person, my husband was in the military for 22 years. You don't volunteer, you get voluntold. So I have no problem voluntolding somebody to go. Okay? Anybody want to go? Look at you, volunteer. Stand up for us if you don't mind and just share a little bit. See, yeah.
We just talked about like being like a good relationship with just like students, families, staff, everything.
It does. They're the ones in the car line loading kids in the car. They're the ones walking the halls. They're the ones doing those things that's building relationship. When I was a building leader, I spent 2 hours every morning running around that building, talking to every teacher in the room or in the building. 2 hours, friends. I was greeting the parents coming in, high-fiving the kids, walking down the hallway, all that stuff. And you know what? I solved so many problems by doing that didn't have to be a problem later on. So that's big. Anybody else? Right here.
We talked about questioning, so not accepting things that are not logical, right? Like, let's not continue with the status quo if it's not working.
Yeah.
Right? Not being afraid to stand up and question things that don't make sense.
Oh, absolutely. Question. If it doesn't make sense, let's question it. Let's be curious. Let's be really curious. I love the quote from Albert Einstein. I'm not particularly a genius. I'm just passionately curious. That's good, isn't it? Because he didn't see himself as some, this was thrust upon me, my genius. He said, I'm curious. And I'm going to go discover and learn and ask questions. Anybody else? Yeah.
We eventually think more about modeling an example.
Yes.
So even if things don't go well.
Absolutely. Model. All day, and on the days you don't feel like it and you spilled your coffee on your white shirt, guess what? You still show up and you model. And you model, and you model, and you model. Absolutely. That's big. Okay, I did this virtually one time where we did the little word cloud, and I want y'all to look what happened. Just look at this list of words. What I think is important about this is nowhere on this list did I see title, position, none of it. It wasn't on there. See, because it's not about those things. It's about who I am. That's what leadership is. Now, you know how word clouds work. Is the more that the same word is put in over and over, that's the words that get big. All right, look at the word, if you can see that yellow box around the word knowledge. The word knowledge. Leaders have to grow and develop their knowledge. It's all about growth and learning. See, if I've stopped growing, Where am I going? I have to grow. It's all about knowledge as well as so many of the other things. Is there any other word on here that jumps off to anybody? Stands out? Yeah, go ahead. Vision. Talk to me about vision.
A good leader nurtures and promotes a shared vision of where we're going.
Okay. That's big. I sit in so many leadership presentations, okay? Sat in one at the Reading League just a couple of weeks ago. And here's what happened around vision, okay? All right, so here's the steps to transforming your school. And I'm not knocking the presenters, but maybe I am a little. Okay, so here's what we do to transform our school. Step number 1, set a vision. All right, step number 2 is blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hold up, friends. Do you even know how to set a vision? Do you even know what it means to cast a vision? What about carrying the vision? Whew, that's big. What about making the vision walk and talk? See, what happens so often in our schools and in our districts is that we've got a plaque problem. Anybody got a plaque problem? The vision is on a plaque down at the superintendent's office somewhere that nobody can recite. That's a plaque problem. See, visions have to walk. Visions have to talk. Visions have to be repeated over and over and over. And it has to be designed collectively. Because if you are in a situation right now that says, oh my goodness, my vision is 95% or more of our children can learn to read, but that's not the same vision that a literacy team or an implementation team has somewhere. See, your visions don't align. Vision is big. And I think we gloss over it way too fast, way too much. Any other word jumped off the page to anybody? Yeah, go ahead. Support. Talk to me about support.
All the best leaders that I've had relationships with have been able to support me, and I know that I can trust that they're going to support me.
Okay. You just said some big words. I hope you know that. Okay? Support and trust. And it is not supporting you. Oh, well, I got you that new curriculum. You're good. All right. No, I'm going to sit across from you and I'm going to look you in the eyes and I'm going to tell you I got you. See, that's what we got to do. There is a great little book called The Thin Book of Trust by Charles Feltman. It's in its 3rd edition, just came out last month, The Thin Book of Trust. See, because trust has to be the foundation of everything that you do. Because when I come up to you and I look you in the eyes, now you can start to trust me a lot more when I say what the big vision is. Trust. The Thin Book of Trust. And it's called The Thin Book because it really is a thin book. Okay? It's an easy read. Really good read. All right. So here's what we're going to do next. Because the big word up there was knowledge, we're going to jump in to our next belief. See, because great leadership demands, requires great responsibility. And that requires that I grow. All right. So before we move on to this next one, believe in growth and learning, does everybody in this room believe that you have the capacity to be a leader? I should see hands. This is where you put your hands up. Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's talk about growth and learning. Okay. Here's my quote from a great piece of literature. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim, swim. See, because how many people I have talked to around this country that are like, well, I have a master's in reading. When did you get that? Well, it was 1986. Oops. Oops. I don't care when you got a master's degree. I don't care when you got your doctorate. Doesn't mean a hill of beans to me. What are you doing right now to learn and grow? You see, because science changes things. And I got to keep up. And I got to move. And I got to keep with the understanding of what we got to do to serve children. And I can't rest on my laurels in that situation. You see, I've got a doctorate. And all that means, it's a test of endurance. And I finished the race. Okay? And anybody that wants to tell you differently, there's a little bit of ego. Okay? This isn't about ego, because remember, it's not about us. It's about our kids. Okay? So we've got to keep swimming. We've got to keep learning. We've got to continue to keep growing. That is the great requirement. John Wooden, gotta love him, Coach John Wooden. UCLA, it's what we learn after we know it all that matters. Don't you love that quote? How many of you in here know about the science of reading? How many of you in here know everything about the science of reading? No. You see, because I roll around in this stuff every day. Tammy, Becky, Stephanie, all I can name names. You roll around in this stuff every day, and every day you discover something new. And you got to roll around in it. I was on a call last night with a group of individuals, and we were talking about the F word. Y'all know the F word. Fidelity. Fidelity. I'm going to give you an insider tip. Do you know that there's not a curriculum provider in our country today, not a resource provider in our country today that has gotten it right? And they want you to believe they have. And they're going to slap that science of reading sticker on it faster than they can print the materials getting out the door. And they are going to tell you to implement with fidelity. Guess why they're telling you that? So you use the product, so you buy more product. Okay, I'm giving you some inside scoop here. I know this to be true. Let's don't assume that our curriculum providers understand the context of the children that I serve, because they don't. I had someone tell me just this week, I was helping her out. She's a first grade teacher in New Jersey. And they adopted a new curriculum that's a good one. It's a good one, but it's got its flaws, as everything does. She's the first grade teacher. And she said, okay, so we started this year. I'm the first grade teacher, and I'm the one, implementing. I'm starting where these kids should be in first grade. But guess what? Are all of our kids in first grade where they should be? No. But the district and the curriculum provider is telling me to implement with fidelity and just keep going and keep going and keep going. But what about this poor child over here that can't even name his letters? And the district did not give me access to the curriculum for kindergarten. So what do I do as the first grade teacher? I cannot implement with fidelity according to what the district is telling me to do. See, this is where leadership comes into play and say, be curious, ask questions. I got to ask questions. Okay, but I'm leaving these children behind. So what do we do about it? Because I know that you're telling me to keep going, pacing guide, all those things, but I can't. See, ask big questions, because it's not about you. It is about the children that we serve. So what am I going to do to rearrange my scheduling? What am I going to do to take it to my building leader? What am I going to do to address the fact that we aren't closing those gaps for kids? You see, it's what we learn after we know it all that matters. Keep questioning, keep asking, keep moving. That's what we have to do. Okay. I hope you have your pens and papers, because I'm about to show y'all something that I think is pretty profound, okay? And I want y'all to see this because it's big. Now, this is created in partnership with some work that I do with Dr. Danielle Thompson. And she and I both started getting in this leadership space, and we started to question big questions, big thoughts. So we are posing that there's not just the science of reading. What we are posing is that there are the sciences guiding how we lead literacy. And there's 5 of them. Okay? There's 5 sciences. All right, so this is something where I am exposing to you what we are questioning, our learning, that we are continuing to learn in this work. All right, here we go. The very first one is the neuroscience of leadership. Do y'all know that leadership is actually a science? Dr. Daniel Amen has actually done fMRIs on individuals to understand where the decision-making process happens, decision-making, being a leader, and it happens right here in the frontal lobe. Whew, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And when our frontal lobe continues to grow with knowledge and develop, our decision-making processes get better. And it's all going on right here in the frontal lobe. See, this neuroscience of leadership says that I understand how to make decisions. I understand change management. I understand organizational psychology. Because if I just come in and say, bam, we have a new curriculum, whoa, it's going to change the world. And I don't understand what I needed to do as a leader to build the trust, to build the respect, to set the vision, cast the vision, all those things, I failed. So all kinds of things that we need to know. I stepped outside of the world of education to start learning leadership. I mentioned John Maxwell to you. I'm Maxwell Leadership Certified. John Maxwell, he is not in the education space, my friends. He's in the business world. And I stepped outside of education to go learn from John. John sits down with presidents of nations to talk about leadership. So this is what needs to be happening. We got to step outside education. When I was doing my PhD, I thought, man, I'm going to get a PhD in literacy and educational leadership. Boy, here's where I'm about to get leadership trained in education. I'm about to get it. And my very first class, my very first assignment was this. You are the superintendent of a school district. And there is a busing and transportation issue. And how are you going to handle that busing and transportation issue? Now, if I would have been bold enough, here's the one-liner I should have responded as. Turn to my director of transportation and say, please go solve that. Come on, that's task management. That's not leadership. That's when I said I got to step outside, and I did. So, and I'm going to be sharing some more resources with you of where I've looked to for leadership. So we've got to start with leadership first. That's what we've got to understand. The next science that we need to understand, implementation science. How many of you know implementation science? Put your hands high. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. That's awesome. Implementation science is getting its day in the sun. I love seeing implementation science come to the forefront here, because implementation science says is that we've got to understand how to implement. We have been too long in the decide and do situation. You know that situation. All right, here we go. Implementation science. NIRN, National Implementation Research Network. Now, this network is not just about education. They research the medical field. They research the business world. They research all kinds of things and have come up with a design on how we should implement effectively in our schools. And it is not the decide and do method. We got to lay the groundwork. See, the road to getting the thing put in place is a long road. And we've put the thing in place before we laid the groundwork. Now, Peter DeWitt has a book too. Now, it's not literacy focused, but I love what he does here. Okay, we just got you this new thing, and that new thing, and this new thing, and how about this thing? And you're like, I can't do any more things. What are you going to de-implement? See, because I've walked through school buildings that says we are Science of Reading aligned. And you walk in and you go do the walkthrough and you go through the classroom and, oh my goodness, like we're over here doing these phonemic awareness routines and all these things. And I look over and there is a word wall like nobody's business hanging out on the, I'm like, oh my goodness. No, if we're still hanging on to old practice, see, we haven't got our implementation right because we can't hang on to old practice. That's not what works. So we have to de-implement. You got to pull the weeds before you can plant the flowers. We have to take things away. So I mentioned Dr. Thompson to you. She was doing a training in Idaho Falls a couple of weeks ago. And so she asked this question. There was the superintendent, principals. She asked them this question and then asked the teachers this question. This is no lie. And she said, hey, admin team, C-suite team, how many initiatives do y'all have here at the district? And they were like, oh, yeah, we got 5. Guess how many the teacher said? 64 is what they came up with. Okay, see, this is where leadership comes into play. We cannot keep adding on until we take away. And this requires great responsibility for me to have the knowledge that when I do a walkthrough, knowing full well what I got to take away and what I got to build up. I got to get and walk through the building. So then next we've got the science of teaching. Tammy, who do you think I'm going to highlight here? Miss Anita Archer. Yes, and y'all had her. Were y'all in the room with Anita when she was here? Okay, did she deliver with a perky pace? That's what she does. See, this is the science of teaching. I got to know those instructional routines. I got to know how to deliver them. With my kiddos, I got to do it repetitively, consistently, over and over and over again. See, this is where direct, a systematic, explicit instruction comes into play. And I can't just leave you to it because I trained you in one PD day. I got to get in there and get close to the work and make sure that it's happening, not in a, oh, I'm about to catch you. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm about to catch you. No. Leadership demands that you build trust. Leadership demands that you build those relationships. All right. Next, science of learning. Remember, you said it at the beginning, it's not about me, it's about the children. How are the children learning? That's big. How are the children learning the information? And the science of learning comes, hopefully you've seen some of these books, Make It Stick. That's a big one. Make It Stick. Also, Stanislaus Dehaene, How We Learn. But I'm going to tell you what, before you pick up the one from Stanislaus, you better get in a breezy spot that's going to keep you awake and a big cup of coffee, okay? Whew. Tammy, this is some more intense reading. It's not just the easy breezy stuff, okay? Yeah. Okay, but I'm going to pull out some cool points about the science of learning. Think about my Braden. Remember? Okay, first grade when she said those words to me. She was receiving intervention, but she was only receiving it once a day, 3 times a week. Is that the intensity that she needed? And y'all know. No, absolutely not. Because the science of learning says, let's get a good and wonderful hit of instruction, a good dose of instruction in tier 1. And now at a later time of day, I'm going to hit you again with another dose that is more intensified. We're talking MTSS here, my friends. And then if she needs it, we go and get a third dose. Okay? See, this is where leadership comes into play. I have to grow my knowledge about this, and this demands schedule changes. And this demands that our teachers are raised up. And this demands that we are in there daily doing the work. See, the science of learning. Something else that Stanislaus is doing, I had a chance to host him on a webinar, and he's even talking about sleep. Y'all know that one. Big time. How many kiddos come to school and they just can't keep their eyes open? Sleep is big. I love the work that y'all are doing with family component, because we got to get our families to understand these things. And then finally, the last science is the science of reading. Okay, I'm going to tell you where we've messed up in our country. We started here. Bam. We started with the thing. And we said, y'all go do the thing. And we're going to get the thing to work for all of our kids. And we didn't start at the beginning where we needed to start. And we needed to start with raising up the leaders to do the work. Okay? Like, this is big. This is big. We've done it backwards. And this is where we need to raise up our leaders to understand how to implement the thing, how to teach the thing, how the kids learn the thing, and finally the thing. We've done it backwards. Mike Morath is the commissioner for the Texas Education Agency in the state of Texas. And he is proud of the fact that he instituted reading academies across the state. Every elementary teacher gets trained in it's basically the science of reading, but Texas, we like to name our own stuff. So they're called reading academies. And he's so proud of that. And I'm not saying it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We got to get the knowledge up for our teachers. But we never prepared the leaders. Because what happened? And I know many of y'all have gone through letters, and that is beautiful. And I love it. But you cannot go through a program and then go back to a classroom and I've got materials that don't align with what I just learned. Because what am I going to do? I'm going to fall to what's in front of me. See, leadership is where it's at. Okay, I'm stopping here for a second. Let's see what time it is. Oh yeah, let's take a little break. Back. I love words. I think there is such power in words. Another thing I'm learning right now is around oral language, and that children with dyslexia, probably about 50% of them have a developmental language delay. That's big, friends. Language. A couple of Halloweens ago, this little boy, he was probably 3 or 4, came up and he was dressed as Mario. And I said, "Oh, you're Mario." And he said, "No, I'm just a little boy disguised as Mario." I wanted to run out to the street and hug his parents. Like, oh my goodness. This little boy knows the word disguised and he knows how to use it. Come on. That's awesome. I'm just a little boy disguised as Mario. All right. So I shared this with you because it has a lot to do with leadership, but it has a lot to do with what I'm currently learning and why we got to get it right in our country and why we got to get it right here in Sacramento County is that we got to lead it well. So I'm going to be sharing another thing that I am currently learning. Y'all know IDA is reauthorizing a definition of dyslexia. Oh, yes, they are. So they have convened a panel of experts around our country. One of those is Hugh Katz. There's others. And this multifactorial model of dyslexia is kind of some new thinking. What does this have to do with leadership? It has everything to do. Remember, because we don't stop learning. We keep learning. And this is what I'm learning right now. I'm sharing it with you. This multifactorial model of dyslexia, coming from Katz, Yaakov Pecher's work, it says that dyslexia, we need to think about it in a risk resilience model, a teeter-totter of risk. And so this teeter-totter of risk says that there are within child factors when it comes to dyslexia. And those within child factors have to do, we know it's hereditary. That's been proven. The science tells us that. There's core cognitive process deficits. Dr. Marianne Wolf, all of her work around the rapid automatic naming. We've got phonological, phonemic awareness, working memory issues, language impairments, just like I talked about. There are attentional deficits, comorbidity issues, and visual problems. Dr. Stanislaus Dehaene, who I mentioned earlier, he's done a lot of work around these visual problems. Dr. Jason Yateman, right here in California, Stanford University, is also researching this. Like, remember, this is an example of why learning should never stop, because the scientists don't stop. And so these things are risk factors for our children. But what could be a resilience or a promotive, a protective factor for children? It is, we can grow their language skill. We can grow it. Are we assessing language? Most schools aren't. Okay? Most schools aren't. We're not assessing language. We're assessing word recognition, but we're not assessing language. And we need to start being on the forefront as leaders, saying that that's something we need to think about. Any SLPs in this room? There's not a single SLP in the room. I'm going to tell you what, if there's not, you better grab that person by the hand and bring them, because they're your best friends in the school system. This is where speech language pathologists and reading specialists got to come together and blend the work. See, there are other factors that can provide protection for children: task focus, behavior, motivation, having average or better intelligence, and providing them with coping strategies. These are the within child factors that protect that child. There's also the environmental or contextual factors that are risks when there is adverse environmental factors such as trauma or stress. That's big. Do you know that research is beginning to tell us that a child that experiences reading trauma has the same effect as somebody coming back from war? That's big. That's big. Okay? So we need to be understanding of that. Non-scientifically informed early reading instruction. Oh my goodness, we could talk about that one for hours. Right? Poor diagnostic assessments or no assessments at all. Yes, ma'am.
Can you elaborate on what reading trauma is?
Yeah, reading trauma. So what reading trauma is let's think about the social emotional aspect of not being able to read. Okay? Many of you might know this book, Undiagnosed: The Ugly Side of Dyslexia. Have you heard of that book? All right, let me tell you a story about it real quick and talk about reading trauma. Undiagnosed: The Ugly Side of Dyslexia. It's by Amir Baraka. He's a good friend of mine, and I wrote the foreword for his book. And what his life story is about is he grew up in a very traumatic situation in the projects in New Orleans back in the 70s, okay? So he grew up with his mom and his grandma, and he's dyslexic, didn't know it at the time, went to school, and they didn't know it either. And they're doing things like, Amir, you come and stand up in front of the class and read in front of the class. And that has forever scarred him, because I'm going to tell you why. I was in 5th grade, and there was a sweet little girl back there that he liked. Okay, think about that. A sweet little girl back there that he liked, and he had to stand up in front of that class and be humiliated because he could not read. That has forever scarred him. So he couldn't find solace at school, and then when he got home, he was whipped by his mom and grandma for being lazy. Amir, why don't you just try harder? Okay? And so by the time 5th grade came around, he was carrying a weapon to school, and by the time he was 14, he had shot and killed a man. This is Amir's life. So he got into drugs. That's where he was accepted. And see, what this is doing is it's causing all of the traumatic things going on in the brain. Dr. Bruce Perry has done tons of work. He has a book out called What Happened to You. Not what's wrong with you, what happened to you. Okay? And so Amir's life goes on. He finally finds out he's dyslexic when he is in prison. And it was then that his life changed. And he is the one in our country that testified on Capitol Hill several years ago for what's called the First Step Act, which means that all prison inmates have to be screened for dyslexia. Yeah, big, big, big. But here's what I say. Why wait? Why wait? Y'all know it. Why are we waiting? Amir today is an actor. He does a lot of work with Tyler Perry. He's on BET on a show called Fatima. Anybody know that show? Anyway, so he's done good work. He's got a book and he advocates. So that stress, I'm glad you asked that question. Like it is really changing the neurological networking within the brain. Okay? All right. So these are all adverse risk factors. But what can we do for the environmental contextual protective factors? Help our families understand the importance of literacy. Help our families understand what it means to grow literacy in the home. And I'm going to dismiss the myth that says, well, if you just read to your kids, they won't be dyslexic. No, that's not what it is. If you read to your kids, you give them language which protects them. It doesn't not make them dyslexic. Did I say that right, or did I put too many double negatives in there? Becky says I got it right. Early identification, we know that that is a protective factor. Evidence-based, explicit, systematic instruction and intervention for intensification, like I described earlier. See, this is kind of a cool model to think about, that there are ways to protect these children with dyslexia. Let's protect them. And you know which one that is not up here that I need you to understand. On the risk side, nobody's leading the work. On the protective side, we got a team leading the work. You see, if we got a team leading the work, we have just put in a protective factor for our children. When we have a team leading and understanding the work, leadership can be a protective factor. Okay, so this section is all about we got to grow and learn. I've given you some things that I've been growing and learning about. Hopefully it can spur you to think about how to grow and learn. But we're going to do a fun little exercise here. This comes from the book 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. This is in chapter 1. And you know when you read a book and you open the book and you get to a point and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even need to read the rest of the book. That just changed my life right there. Well, this is it for me. This happened in chapter 1 of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. So I'm going to show these to you, and then you're going to do a little table talk and talk about where your growth gaps are. We all have them. We all have growth gaps, but we have to recognize that we have them. We have to understand that we have them. Okay. The assumption gap is, I'll automatically grow. It's just going to happen. I mean, I'm getting older. Y'all laugh at that. Yeah. No, growth has to be intentional. I have to choose growth. I have to plan for growth. I have to be really decisive and make decisions about what I'm going to grow in and around. Knowledge gap. Oh, that sounds reading stuff. I already know that. No, There is always more to learn. That could be a growth gap for you. The timing gap. Nope, now's not the right time. I have got so much going on in my life. Oh my goodness. I mean, I've got my kids are in school and this just happened and that just happened. Now's not the right time. No, the right time is now. The right time is now. Because if you are in a position of being in a school, who's it about? It's about the kids. All right, mistake gap. Well, I don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, I'm just going to lay it on the line, friend. You're going to make a mistake before you end this day and put your head on the pillow. Get over it. Get over it. I'm going to make a mistake before I leave here today. Get over it. Get over yourself. Okay? Know that mistakes are going to happen. Perfection gap. Well, I've been planning and I've been working on it. I got to have the perfect plan before we do anything about changing our schedule to better serve our kids. I need the perfect schedule first. Stop it right there. Let's just do something now. okay? We got to get moving. Inspiration gap. Ugh, I'm just so tired. It's November. Thanksgiving's coming up. Christmas will be here. And before, I mean, my goodness, if you think about it, it's already January. How many of y'all are saying that? Like, when November 1st hit last Friday, I was like, thank goodness October is over. Oh. Okay, comparison gap. I think this is where it gets a lot of us. Comparison gap. I'm not where others are, or our school is better than the school down the street. We're good. My district is better than the district down the school. Whoo, look at us, comparison gap. I'm comparing mediocrity to mediocrity. Nope, you got to learn from others. The expectation gap. So you started learning, growing. Ooh, I thought it'd be easier than this. Growth takes effort. Growth takes learning. Growth demands that you dive in. Here's another one, capacity gap. Well, there's just too much to do. I mean, we got a math initiative, and we've got we're getting the new playground put in, and we're also started a family program, and then we also have, the fall festival is coming up. I forgot about that. And, all these things, there's just too much to do. Here's what I want you to think about. Danielle and I, we did a 6-day literacy leadership training for leaders in Wisconsin. It was a part of their legislation. And so we did this 6-day thing with them. And one of the things that we did is train them in MTSS assessments. Like we went going from all the way from leadership all the way down to the thing that needed to happen. And we had so many revelations that popped up in those 6 days with people. And it was actually this capacity gap right here that is not from the book, but from one of the leaders in the room. He's the one that came up with it. He's also the one in the room when we asked them to think about what their problems were that they needed to address as a team. He is the one when we went around and said, okay, what's going on, what your problems are? And he's the one that raised his hand and said, and this was like the superintendent principals, they said, we're the problem. I just wanted to hug that person right there. You talk about humility. You talk about vulnerability. You talk about somebody that said, our teachers have been coming to us, telling us, and we realized we haven't been listening. That was their growth gap. All right, so what I want you to do, and I think this is on one of your handouts. You can look at it on there. Just talk at your tables. Where are you personally? Where is your school or district? Because it could be different for your school or district. Take a few minutes. Coming back. Who in this room just wants to lay it on the line and stand up and say, here's my growth gap. I'm going to lay it out there for everybody to see. Who wants to do it? Nobody? I said, who in this room wants to stand up and just, think about it like I'm just standing up, laying it on the line, telling everybody my growth gap. Sure. Go.
I have no problem talking about my issues.
We may need more time.
Yeah. Ironically, it's timing and capacity. Those two totally resonated with me. And it's external of work, life stuff. So it just then in combination with work, it's so easy for me to say, yeah, I know I need to do this. Yeah, I know I need to dig more into that, have a better understanding of that, but I don't have the time or capacity. So that's me.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we had another hand up. Share.
I just said mine's the perfection gap. I feel like I need that perfect plan first. I want it to be, I'm a perfectionist. They say there's fight, flight, and freeze, and I tend to use the freeze. So if I feel anxious about something, then I don't want to put it out there. So I need to get over that and just get started. I'm really good at advocating that with our teachers. It's okay, just start with one piece and we'll add in the rest as we go. But I don't necessarily listen to my own work.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can all raise our hand. We don't actually listen to our own words. So, you just go do that. It'll be fine. You'll be fine when you go do that. Okay? Yeah. So I love the things that you come up with. I had a great conversation with a table back here, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we're learning so much, but we need a plan. We need a plan on what to do." So I'm thinking about this whole growth gap thing. And if we are going to create literacy transformation in schools, I can't get deep into that today. In fact, Tammy, can we just stay here till Sunday? Because, check the room reservation and see if we can stay till Sunday. Because, friends, this is big work, and you're saying to yourself, but wait, I'm not on the big district team. But wait, what decisions can I make where I am right now? I mean, yes, I was at your table. We talked about this. Okay, so we're going to jump into some of that stuff. As far as what needs to happen with your school district moving forward, that's what we can't tap into today. But I'm going to be sharing my information with you because that's what we could tap into. That's what this team over here can help you tap into, okay? All right, we were talking about growth. Everybody as a leader needs to grow. And this is just a little look at my literacy leadership bookshelf. My leadership books are on the top and my literacy books are on the bottom. And if you are fooled into thinking that these are the only books on my bookshelf, you are wrong. Does anybody else have a book buying problem? My name is Terry Nolan. I have a book buying problem. Yeah, okay. All right. See, remember, because what I said as a leader, I had to step outside education. And my stepping outside of education is right up here on the top. Right now I'm in a book study around this high road leadership. High road. Take the high road, my friends. I've written the low road email. Have you? I've done it. I've done it. And I have to be reminded what it means to have high road capacity, have high road abilities. High road means I find the value in every person in this room, in this team, every child in front of me. That's taking the high road. See, there's so many things there. The laws of leadership, I'm going to be pulling some out. I gave you a segment from the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I'm going to teach a little bit about the 5 levels. And then these last 2 books, Adam Grant, Hidden Potential. Oh my goodness. Adam Grant is a literacy leader and he doesn't even know it. And I'm going to tell him he's one day. Okay? See, I'm a possibilist. Because I never thought I would get to meet John Maxwell. Guess what? I know John Maxwell. I've had lunch with John Maxwell. You see, that's what possibility thinking does. And then this last one, Marcus Buckingham, if you don't know Marcus, he worked for the Gallup organization for years. And he said, what we have done in our society is we have left love out of our work. We've left it out. And we got to bring it back. And we got to love what we do. You don't have to love everything about what you do, but you got to love something about what you do. Because when I was doing playground duty with those kids, I'm going to tell you, I didn't love it. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. If I had to zip another zipper or wipe another nose. Thank goodness for Teresa in my building. Because when the throw up happened, which it inevitably did, Teresa! Yeah. She didn't love doing that, but I didn't love doing that. Yeah, okay. And then down below, I've already shared some of these books with you, but these are not the only ones, friends. This is what growth and learning looks like. We got to have content. Now, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Knowledge will always have to outpace curriculum. Always and forever outpace curriculum. I have heard too much. Well, we've got the new curriculum. Whew, thank goodness, which is sometimes a good thing. But if our knowledge is not there to supplant the curriculum, we are not going to change the life of a child. And I'm going to tell you another inside secret about curriculum providers. Do you know they do something called the MVP? This is in product design and development. MVP. What does MVP stand for that we know? Most valuable player. Guess what? In the world of product development and design, it's called minimal viable product. We are going to develop the minimally viable product so that we can package it fast and get it out and sell that sucker. I don't like that. Okay? But that's what happens in product development and design. Because they want to sell more product, and they want you to buy more product, sell more product. See, because knowledge has to outpace curriculum. And we've got to make sure that our professional learning is no longer just grab and go. It is integrated into what we are doing, and it is consistent and ongoing. See, we've got to grow. I'm going to talk about the law of the lid real fast, because this is what's going on in many of our schools around the country. This comes from John's book. And the law of the lid says this, is that the person that is in a position of authority and they're not growing their knowledge. See, I need everybody to watch me here. They're not growing their knowledge. They're here. Then the organization can only go here. Maybe I am growing, but then I'm starting to surpass this person, but then their ego gets in the way and they're not going to let me move up. See, this is the law of the lid. So as leaders, I have to go so everybody can go with me. I have to go. The higher I get, that's powerful. The law of the lid is powerful. And we've got to get our teams, our building leaders to be sitting in rooms saying, oh my goodness, I got to grow. I got to go, right? So the law of the lid is a really powerful growth journey. All right, Big Sky Literacy Summit happens in Big Sky, Montana every year. Danielle puts this on. Now, I'm going to tell you who these people are. Dr. Tim Odegaard, cognitive neuroscientist. Dr. Charles Hume, Oxford University. We've got Dr. Julie Washington, her work about African-American English. We've got Dr. Tiffany Hogan, who does research around oral language, implementation science. Dr. Hugh Katz, oral language. He's the one doing the multifactorial model. And we've got Dr. Maggie Snowling, and she is the first woman president of the School of Education at Oxford University. They sat on a panel at Big Sky, and the most profound thing that came out of their mouth was, we don't know. They don't know. What? Wait, I thought you were the ones that were supposed to know. I thought you were the ones that were supposed to know. And they're like, we don't know. That's why we're still doing research. That's why we have to continue to do research. See, growth and learning can never, ever stop. We've got to move forward. So in your packet, I want you to do a little activity for me, okay? This is personal. All right, when I was teaching in the classroom, I was here. I was putting tracing papers in front of those babies. Let's trace. That's what I knew to do. Yeah, was I a good teacher? I think I was. I mean, y'all see me here today. I'm like, woohoo, let's go. You know, language, all the things. I didn't know how to teach reading. See, because I was here. Now that I've grown and learned and I've been in this journey, I'm not here, friends. I'm somewhere in here. And I recognize that about myself. And one of the big things about this chart that I think is profound, and somebody mentioned it this morning about modeling, is I've also realized the older I get, who am I going to reach back and grab? I got to grab somebody. I got to raise up leaders. You see, because great leaders raise up great leaders. So just do a little self-reflection real quick and think about where you are as far as your own growth learning, especially in the light of I just introduced all these new sciences to you, maybe. Where are you? Just put yourself, and if you want to hide it so nobody sees that you're down there, that's okay. Because remember, this is personal reflection. All right, I heard some awesome comments. This table up here at the front, I heard them say, oh, we better back ourselves down a notch. Is there a negative? Can we be negative? I also heard right here something about, ooh, I slide. I might go up and then I might slide. Yeah, absolutely. You know, this little chart, so simple, but I reflect on this chart all the time in my own growth and learning, okay? All right. We have an hour left, so we have a lot more to get through. We got to believe that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Leadership is about who you are, not what title you have. It's about how you show up. It's about how you act. It's about influence. So once again, I had to go outside of education to understand influence, okay? But let's look at a little quote from a great piece of it's from a movie, from A Bug's Life. Everything that made that giant tree is already contained inside this tiny little seed. All it needs is some time, a little bit of sunshine and rain, and voila. Now, you might not feel like you can do much now, but that's just because, well, you're not a tree yet. You just have to give yourself some time. You're still a seed. Oh, talk about capacity for growth, learning, and influence. I'm just a seed, but I'm growing, I'm learning, and I'm going to tell you what I can rise up and influence. All right. Dr. Robert Cialdini wrote this book, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. And he is at the University of Arizona, and he is world-renowned for the work that he has done in the psychology of influence, mainly influencing department stores, grocery stores, about you're more willing to buy the things on the end cap, right? How many of you go to Target and can't even get out of the dollar section? See, there's science behind that. Becky is a self-admitted, I'm a dollar, yeah. Okay, so what Robert Cialdini has done, he's come up with these principles of influence. Because many of you in this room are saying, yeah, I see myself as the leader, but how do I go tell somebody, or how do I influence somebody? All right, let's look at some principles here. Cialdini integrated his work with Dr. Gregory Neidert, Core Motives model of social influence. And when they integrated their work, here's what happened, is Robert Cialdini says, we have to start with relationship first. Somebody said it this morning. Yep. We have to start with relationship first. Okay? See, because y'all know what we need to do to change the lives of children. But here's what I've noticed about individuals that know the work. They come in hot. Okay? Oh my goodness, did you know what we need to do? And oh my goodness, we got to do this, we got to do this. And are you on board? Boy, we come in hot. And we can't come in hot, especially if we don't have the relationship developed. We have to start with relationship. Now, there's 3 principles under that. Don't have time to talk about all 3. I'm only going to talk about reciprocity. And the principle here from Dr. Robert Cialdini says this: when I do for you, you'll in return do for me. Okay? When I invite you to my birthday party, what are you going to do? Invite me to your birthday party. Okay? But I don't like birthday parties, so I would never hold a birthday party for myself, and I won't come to yours. I'm just kidding. Reciprocity says that when you do for one, they will in turn do for you. So Brittany Brewer, she's down in Alabama. She is trying to make sure that all of the children in the school she works in is getting the explicit instruction that they need. And she said she was having trouble with a teacher. She was having trouble with this kindergarten teacher who felt like her crown was getting knocked off. Because I've been doing this work a long time, and I know what I'm doing. And I've taught this way for 30 years. And don't tell me to come in here and try. And Brittany had been coming in with her, and well, here's the new thing we're going to do, and here's the new curriculum, and here's some new routines I need you to put in place. I said, Brittany, back off. You haven't established the relationship with her first. And I gave her advice. I said, Brittany, go into her room, and I don't care what you talk about. You can talk about her cat. I don't care. Go into her room and talk about something so just non-important, and you got to build that first. And I promise you, when you do that, she will return and start to listen to you. So Brittany contacted me later, and she said, you'll never guess. And she did. She went in and talked about her cat. And now that teacher, Brittany straightened her crown a little bit, and now that teacher is leading the charge in her school. You see, you got to start there. You can't come in hot with your knowledge, and that's hard because we have the knowledge. I told this table back here, we are the ones that have the keys to the kingdom. We're the ones that know how to teach children to read. But if you come in hot, nobody will listen. So we have to establish relationship. And it is that reciprocity that goes on. All right, next, like I said, there's others, the concepts of liking and unity, but I won't tap into those. I'm just tapping into some to help you out here. All right, so once I've developed relationship, then we can talk about reducing your uncertainty. Okay, but wait, I heard a comment over here that I hear all over the country. Children need to be engaged in grade level content. They need to be reading grade level work, but they can't decode words. How can they read grade level work? Okay, well, let's reduce their uncertainty. I've got the relationship. Next step is I'm going to reduce your uncertainty. But I'm not going to rely on me because you can't be a prophet in your own backyard. You can't. Okay? People know you. Can't be a prophet in your own backyard. This is where I rely on authority. And I bring in maybe something like Teaching Reading is Rocket Science by Louisa Moats. Okay? Because she's the authority, not me. And I go to somebody after we've got the relationship, and here, now this is important, friends, because once again, we're fired up. And I come in with 7 books and 10 articles and say, oh my goodness, Tammy, could you read all of these? Let's have a discussion about it. Oh my goodness. No, nobody's ever going to look at that. You get the Teaching Reading is Rocket Science, and you don't even say read the whole thing. You circle a paragraph and highlight it and put it on their desk and say, this statement jumped off the page at me. I would love for you to read it and see how it might apply to what we're doing here. You see, you made them hone in. Can somebody read a statement? Absolutely. Okay? This is what relying on authority. And now you've broken down their ego a little, and we're reducing uncertainty. Because it's not my authority, it's theirs. I'm telling you, Robert Cialdini has done this work. He has research after research after research that says this works. But here's one thing he says, and I believe him. Everything we are doing is not with malicious intent. It is because we have come with pure motives. This is all about pure motives. I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I am coming with pure motives. All right, and then the last one here is motivating action. I've reduced your uncertainty. Now we can move into action. And this is where consistency compounds. Hang on to that word, consistency compounds, because I'm going to come back to it here in a little bit, okay? All right, and when consistency gets going, man, we start to move. Here's another model, I kind of like this model too, that Roddy Galbraith, he is a mentor of mine. I was on a Zoom call one day. This is actually a screenshot of my iPad as he was teaching this lesson. And it's about influence. And it says, with anybody that we come in contact with, we start out on rocky ground. I don't know you. You don't know me. We're on rocky ground, right? Now I got to come to a place of connection. That's that relationship that Cialdini's talking about. I'm not talking science of reading. I'm not talking that we need to change the schedule. I'm not talking about our MTSS. I'm not talking about any of that. Nope. We got to connect first. And then the credibility is where Cialdini says that authority comes in. My credibility is raised also when I'm the one starting to bring in some knowledge from others. Then we get to this place of relevance or resonance. Do you know that a grand piano, if you put two grand pianos in the same room right here, I can hit the C key on this grand piano, and the string of the C key on this grand piano will do this. What? That's resonance. See, because it's traveling through the airwaves. That's resonance. Y'all been in these moments, you've been in these meetings. Haven't you ever been in a meeting and was like, man, we were on fire in that meeting? You see, you had resonance because we were all on the same page. But we had to bring other people up with us. And then that's when influence happens. See, we've tried to do it the wrong way, and I've tried to go and influence somebody without building up these other components first. And that's what we've got to do, okay? All right. So we're moving into believe you can lead from where you are. No matter your role, no matter your title, no matter your position, no matter any of these things, I can lead right from where I am. So you have to understand a few things here. John Keating, Dead Poets Society. Carpe diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. I say all the time to individuals that I talk to, if not you, then who? If not you, then who? Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it in your school? I don't know. Nobody? If not you, then who? You're the one. You've been prepared for this moment. Seize the day, my friends. Seize the day. So let's look at the directionality of leadership. Leadership starts with you. Do you know who the hardest person to lead is? I love that you said that, Jan. She said myself. Is that just Jan's personal problem, or is it all of our problems? No, it's all of our problems. The hardest person to lead is me. And it all starts with that growth and knowledge that I talked to you about. Okay, so think of you in the center. You are about transforming. Transformation is about changing on the inside so that we can transform others on the outside. When I first started tutoring kids in 2014, I'm going to tell you what, that book was right here. Oh, my goodness. Hang on. Okay, now next we need, okay. And now we do this. Y'all know what I'm saying, right? And okay, hang on. Just wait a second, kids. All right, let me turn the page here. Now I got to get my cards ready. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, my goodness. I mean, it was chaos, right? How any child learned from me, I don't know. But see, when I started to transform on the inside and I grew my knowledge, you know what? I can tutor kids today and that book sits right over there. And boy, we get it. We get it. And I know when I need to be agile and move over here because they didn't get it. And I know when I can move over here because now I need to shift and adjust based on where my children are. See, I was transforming on the inside, and because I transformed on the inside, my kids got better on the outside of me. And you as a leader, when you transform on the inside, people are gonna get better on the outside of you. I promise. That's the way this game works. All right, so the first thing you need to know is you gotta lead up. Leading up is best described in some stories. This is Rebecca Brown. She's a 4th grade teacher in Gwinnett County, Georgia. I started mentoring Rebecca a couple of years ago, and Rebecca started learning, growing, transforming herself, and she was like, oh my goodness, the things that we're doing in my 4th grade, these kids can't read. I got to do something about it. There's this thing out there called the science of reading. Oh my goodness. And so Rebecca started learning, growing, and she said, what am I going to do about it? And she went and talked to her principal. Oh my goodness. Wear good deodorant that day, my friends, because that's scary. It's scary, right? Very scary. And so she went and talked to her principal, and her principal said, Rebecca, you can do this. You don't tell anybody you're doing this, and I'm going to see how it goes. So Rebecca did this. And guess what happened? Whoa! Results. Kids started reading. And guess what happened then? The principal left. And Rebecca had to lead up the next year when the new principal came in. So she mustered the courage, and she had to go sit in front of that principal again and describe everything and talk about it. And that principal said, yeah, I'll let you keep doing this. That brings us to this past spring. Rebecca texted me, and she said, you'll never believe it. We're going school-wide, not district-wide. We're going school-wide of what I've done. Guys, this is leading up. See, it's taken small steps if you're leading up. And it's also about look how good it made that principal look. They didn't do a thing. See, leading up is about making somebody look good. And I know that's hard because your ego gets in the way because it was all my work. But remember, it's not about you, it's about the kids. Okay? So leading up. Leading across. Maybe you have a title, a role where you are trying to influence across other teachers, maybe other director titles, maybe other principals, whoever it is. You're leading across. And leading across, my good friend Nelda Reyes, she's the district instructional coach down in Texas. So Nelda was in the classroom. Then she saw the need, became certified as a dyslexia therapist. Then she was doing dyslexia services in the school. And then she got called up to interview for the district instructional coach to implement the new curriculum, Amplify ELAR. It's not called CKLA in Texas. Remember, we name our own things. Okay? It's Amplify ELAR. So she called me on the day of her interview and she said, I don't know if I can do this. And I said, Nelda, everything you have done has prepared you for this moment. You've got to get in there and lead this. She got the job. I was coaching her up all along the way. And Nelda is transforming this school district because of the work that she's done. Friends, this is possible. This is possible. She didn't feel like she could. She didn't feel like she had capacity to do so, but she jumped in, she learned the curriculum, and she sat face to face with teachers day in, day out, and now they're getting the job done. All right, leading down. Some of you might be in a position where you're leading down, and this is best exemplified Dr. Art Cavazos. And Dr. Art Cavazos, he's a former superintendent. He was doing the Science of Reading thing back in 2012 down in Harlingen, CSD in Texas. And I'm going to tell you, you talk about casting vision. This man cast vision. He grew himself. He learned about the science. He learned what he needed to do, understood implementation. He got his entire C-suite team involved. He got the bus drivers trained up. Bus drivers went in and sat with kids and listened to kids read. He got paras trained up. I have been in a classroom before that was doing a walkthrough, and they've got a little table over here, and there's a person there, and there's a little table over here, and this little table over here, I'm going to tell you what, that teacher was getting it. She was teaching her pants off with diphthongs. Oh, why? I mean, teaching your pants off with diphthongs. And I went outside, and the principal was there, and I said, oh, my goodness. I mean, this gal's good. But who's this gal over here? And she said, that's our para. Don't forget your paras. If you are an adult human, you can be in front of children and get trained up. And that's what Art Cavazos did when he was leading down. He did it to the point that the high school band wrote a little ditty about reading and performed it at pep rallies and in the hallways. Guys, this is not only setting a vision, but carrying the vision. See, he was leading down, but he didn't lead down through authority. He led down through relationships. That's important. Missy Purcell, she's a good friend of mine. She leads in all directions. She's a former educator, now turned advocate because of her son who's dyslexic. She is sitting in front of superintendents. She's helping other advocates across the country. She is leading in all positions because several years ago, I told her, I said, Missy, if not you, then who? Okay? See, you have capacity. I want you to talk at your table what positions you are in. And I say positions because you could be leading up, across, down. Think about where you are positionally. All right. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. And on the count of 3, you are going to show me the position that you are in. If it's up, it's up. If it's across, it's across. If it's down, it's down. And if it's in multiple directions, you're just, all right. Or if it's all of them, you're all of them. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm seeing some alls. I'm seeing some acrosses. I'm seeing some up, across. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, friends, have a seat. Hopefully y'all can see through the fact that that was my lame attempt to get you to stand up and move. All right. So we have to understand our position, okay? I'm going to tell you what, when I learned this, bam, because you cannot lead up the same way you lead across. You cannot lead down the same way you lead up. You see there, and actually John Maxwell's written a book where this comes from. It's called The 360-Degree Leader. Okay? That gives you the tactics of what you need to do when you lead up, when you lead across, and when you lead down. You can't lead everybody the same way. No. All right. The next thing we're going to believe that mindset matters. Y'all know this. My goodness, we know Carol Dweck's work, right? We know this stuff. Here's my mindset matters. Mr. Miyagi, the Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Don't forget to breathe. Very important. Who else was a big Ralph Macchio fan? Absolutely. You see, because this little thing that Mr. Miyagi had Daniel-san do in the movie wasn't so much about, it wasn't definitely about cleaning his fence or cleaning the cars or anything like that. It was about, I got to get your mind right. I got to get your mind right before I ever teach you anything. That's what this was about. And when you get your mind right, your actions are going to follow. So we have to believe that mindset matters. All right. I like to inspire. Because one of the things I want you to leave with today that I thought about, I want you to leave inspired to take action. So we're going to cover a few things here about mindset. And we're going to look at I'm just, perceptions of the rules, and having courage over fear. Very first thing. Anybody know this fella? Probably not. But I promise you know what this fella said. I want to give this fella a big swift kick in his backside, but he's dead. Okay? Y'all know what he said. You don't know him, you know what he said. Those who can do, those who can't teach. Friends, exactly. Boo! Boo! George Bernard Shaw. Now, George, we won't curse you too much. I'm sure you said great things along the way because we value people. So the thing I do not like about this is because in our country, in our states, in your counties, even though we say, oh my goodness, even though we might say, oh, teachers are all that, we have not lifted education up the way it should be. We have to bring honor and glory back to the teaching profession. Friends, if we're in church, what do you say to that? Amen. Amen. We have to bring glory and honor back to this profession. And unfortunately, it has become, oh, well, you know, you teach because, well, you just can't do anything else. Or you teach because you like your summers off. Or you teach because, you know, all of the things that we say teaching is. Teaching is the hardest thing there ever is to do. Y'all know that. Okay? But what it has done in our country, it's given us this I'm just mindset. I was at a superintendent administrator conference in New York City. I was doing a presentation. And so before the presentation, you know, you got to get your technology set up and all these things. And so I ran to the back of the room, and the gal that was back there helping me with the technology, I introduced myself. And I told her who I was, and she said, and I said, oh, tell me who you are. And she said, I'm Kristen. I'm just a teacher. I wanted to grab her right there. I wanted to shake her, but I didn't have time. I want to go find her. I went back to my hotel room and I wrote out some just. Okay? I'm going to breathe into you, friends. I'm going to breathe into you. Okay? I'm justified. I'm justified in this work, and don't tell me I'm not. I'm justified in this work because I chose it. And sometimes maybe you didn't choose it, but it chose you. You see, education chose me. I didn't choose education. You know what I did for my undergraduate and my master's degree? Criminal justice. I was going into men's prisons and I was teaching about how to get out. Were you too? Yeah. Oh my goodness. But here's what I say about that. Kids, criminals, it's all the same. We're just correcting behavior, right? Okay? I'm justified for this position that I have. Just like that. Do you know how many children I tutor that are curriculum and instructional casualties? They are casualties of a system. But we've put up the dyslexia flag. Oh, they're dyslexic. Bring them to me, friends. Because the minute that I start applying evidence-based instruction, bam, just like that. What does that say about our tiered system that we need to align? Because if we do what Jack Fletcher tells us to do, Jack Fletcher is a great researcher, we got to catch them before they fall. Before they fall. And just like that, now we're producing kids that can read. Just the beginning. Just the beginning. So for so many of our kids, it's just the beginning of something glorious to come. It's just the beginning of your potential being unleashed. Because that's my job, is to tap into your potential. Adam Grant, hidden potential. For some of our kids in secondary, we are just in time. Any secondary people in here? Woo! You're just in time for some of those kids. And don't forget that. And people ask me all the time, well, yeah, but, for high school kids, my goodness, teaching them, we go back to the basics of phonemic awareness. That's baby stuff and baby books. I said, I could care less what it is. You get that baby stuff in front of them and you teach those children to decode words. It's just in time for some of those kids, just for fun. Trip. Oh, man, he couldn't get digraph AW, and I'd been over digraph AW over and over, digraph AW, so, all this stuff. I couldn't get him to get digraph AW, and finally, I was like, okay, we're about to make this fun, Trip. So we did. I said, stand up. Saw, all, back and forth, saw, all, saw, all. And at the end of the lesson, we came back, and I said, Trip, tell me the sound for digraph AW. What is it? Saw. Aw. Miss Terry, you're a genius. And I said, Trip, if I was a genius, I would have done that a month ago. So I'm not. We got to have fun with our kids. Just wondering, it goes to your comment this morning, we got to be curious. I'm just wondering, team back here, I'm just wondering what it would mean for us to sit on that implementation team. I'm just curious what that would look like. Okay? I'm just curious. Just imagine that 95% of the children that you serve or greater can read. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What do your intervention rooms look like? What does our tiered model look like? It's not upside down anymore. Just imagine. And just because we know this work is hard, just a little growl and just a lot of grace. Okay? All right, those are my just. You are justified in this work, friends. Believe in yourself. The next thing I want you to hear is we've got to have rules, okay? But do we? So this is my youngest son, Cy, when he was in 3rd grade, and Miss Warren sent a piece of paper home that said, we're going to have 3rd grade market, and all the kids need to bring something to sell for 3rd grade market, and you can bring pickles, you can bring popsicles, you can bring stickers, you can bring la-da-la-da-la-da-la. And so I said, let's make duct tape wallets. And he said, it's not on Miss Warren's list. And I said, her list is just suggestions, friend. It's not what you have to pick from. And he said, nope, it's not on her list. And I said, nope, we're making duct tape wallets. That's that. And so as me and his bigger sister sat at the table and made duct tape wallets, he laid under the table and stomped his feet and cried. Okay? So we made 85 duct tape wallets, and here he is at school with his duct tape wallets, and he knew that he was going to get in trouble because that wasn't the rule. Miss Warren didn't put it on the list. And when I came to pick him up that day, all the wallets were gone. He made more money than anybody in the class. So how do you think he felt about his duct tape wallets then? Yay! Exactly. So here's what I say about rules. There are rules. We know there are rules associated with special education. We know we have IDEA laws. We know that we have rules. But I want you to be curious. And don't accept the fact that we've always done it this way. Well, the schedule is the schedule because, well, we've always had it this way. And Miss Warren really likes her lunchtime at 11:30. And that's what we've always done for her. I see head shaking, friends. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the children. I could care less that Miss Warren's had her lunch at 11:30. See, this is where we've got to stand up and we got to take action because you got to question the rule. And I sat in front of a 1st grade team that said the rule says is I have to teach grade level content in my ELA block for these babies, but they can't do it. They can't even recognize letters. And I said, where's that rule coming from? Well, they are the ones that said it. I said, you question that. You question that. But remember, don't come in hot questioning that. You got to come in love. You got to come in with understanding to begin questioning that. See, we got to question the rules. All right. Now I'm going to talk about courage. This is a mindset. Leadership requires courage. Leadership is hard, and there's no 2 great days in leadership back to back. And the minute that you question something and somebody says, hoo, 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 this is something that my dad would say. Are you too big for your britches? That's a very Texas thing to say. Too big for your britches? Don't look at her being too big for her britches. See, leadership demands courage. But we got to understand what courage is, what it looks like, feels like, sounds like, walks like, talks like. Okay? Courage is not the opposite of fear. Courage is having fear, and I'm scared, and I'm going to do it anyway, like the friend that I talked to in Chicago Public Schools. And she was to the point of being fearful that she would get fired from her job if she said anything about scores. She told me that, and she did it anyway. Okay, I'm just going to lay it on the line, friends. We are in a teacher shortage. If you believe you're going to get fired from your job, then I promise you they will hire you back tomorrow because there's a teacher shortage. I mean, come on, right? Or just go across the street and there's another job over there. See, courage is not the opposite of fear. Courage is having fear and doing it anyway. It's standing up in a board meeting with your hand shaking and your paper all crumbling because it's sweaty, and you do it anyway. See, this is what standing up as a leader looks like. And you do it with love, and you do it with values. I got it. Y'all saw that picture too soon. All right. It was a couple of years ago. My boys were home. My husband was out of town. And I was laying in bed. And you know how you kind of wake up and like, oh, what was that? I heard this noise. And I thought, I guess that's one of the boys coming home, the garage door coming down. But it was kind of weird. Like, I don't know, whatever. But fell back asleep. And then I woke up and I thought, do I smell gas? Nothing in our house is gas. Like, why would I smell gas? That's weird. Okay, go back to sleep. And here, y'all saw my picture, you know where it's going. And then I smell smoke. So I jump up, I run out into my living room, and I open the back. My entire kitchen out there is in flames. So the gas that I smelled was the propane. And the bang that I heard was that propane exploding. So I do what you're not supposed to do, and I started yelling, help. You're supposed to yell fire, okay? I started yelling, help. My oldest son, comes running out of his room before I could turn around. He told me later he thought I was being murdered. We listened to a lot of murder podcasts. So he thought I was being murdered, and boy, he's out there, ready to go. And I said, fire, fire. My youngest son, Sai, we find out later he was trying to find his shoes and get his contacts in and, yeah, where's the dog? All these things. And so I'm thinking, what can I do immediately? Zach, my oldest son, I said, call 911. Well, he called some line that speaks Spanish. And so then he had to call 911. You're just in a panic, friends, a panic. And I look around and I'm like, how can I get this fire out? And I go to my cabinet, this is no lie, and I grab the bowl that I make guacamole in. And I'm thinking, okay, wait, no, that's not gonna work. I mean, seriously, I was in a panic. I ran outside, I grabbed the hose. Finally, some sense came to my brain. And I grabbed the hose and started putting out that fire. Now we had another propane tank. Okay, we had no idea. My oldest son comes up to me, and I'm going to tell you what he did. He looked me dead in the eyes, and he handed me the phone, and he said, Mom, you get out of here. I'm going to tell you what, that's courage. But see, this isn't what happened in my home. I promise you this is what would happen in your home. I promise you, okay? You see, because that's what it looked like. My two boys, finally, my youngest one got out there. My two boys stood for hours and put out that fire because the fire department didn't respond for an hour. Exactly, okay? See, courage is saying, this is scary and I'm gonna do it anyway. Because every day that passes, we have another child that is lost. And I can't accept that. And I know you don't either. Okay? All right, so it's not the opposite of fear. Courage is about creating significance. See, I'm at a point in my life, it's not about success, it's about significance. And when I had a mama call me the other day, Braden's mom, who's now in 6th grade, she's a good reader. But I stopped tutoring her, and her mama called me the other day and said, you know what Braden told me? She wants you to tutor her again because she feels better when she's with you. Nice. Y'all have had it too. Okay? This isn't about my success. This is about significance in somebody else. Courage is a muscle. The more you have courage, the more you have courage. See, so if I go and send the email, the high road email that says, Principal, can we have a meeting? Then it's going to give me courage to do it again. Courage is a muscle. You got to have the courage to say, I don't know, or I'm curious. I have to be courageous in those moments. And courage inspires courage. It does inspire courage. When you're courageous, I promise you the entire team will be courageous. And when you've got a courageous team, you better watch out, okay? Okay, friends, as we roll into the last few minutes, that was my moment of inspiration for you, okay? I believe in every person in this room. And think about if you in this room will step out in courage in one thing, what will it do to inspire action at your school? What will it do? You need to think of the one thing. What's the one thing? You can't tackle it all. What's the one thing that we are going to do? So let's talk about some characteristics that are always going to get noticed. All right. Why did you do all this for me? He asked. I don't deserve it. I've never done anything for you. You have been my friend, Charlotte replied. That in itself is a tremendous thing. We all know it, don't we? Okay, see, this is a characteristic. I'm going to do for you knowing full well you might not ever do anything for me because I'm going to do it. That's what a leader does. Remember, we're talking about leadership characteristics. Okay, in your package, you're going to do this little activity real quick. So we're going to be talking about characteristics, values. We've mentioned a lot today. And you have a values list, okay? And you got to know your values, and you might think that you do know your values. But once you do this list, it's going to open your eyes. So I am going to set a timer for 90 seconds. I'm showing you a bad teaching practice. You got to read fast, my friends. 90 seconds, and here's what you're going to do. You're going to circle the only five that are your top values, okay? You know the assignment. You're only going to circle 5 that are your top values. So ready and go. Okay, now, was that hard? Yeah. Were you starting to justify like, oh, well, that one sounds kind of like this one, so I'm just going to pick this one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to give you a minute, and you're going to narrow it down to 3. Oh. Ready? Go. And time. See, I love this little exercise because what it does is it really gets you to hone in on what you value, okay? See, because leaders know their values. And I bring it down to 3 because it's too hard to remember 5. I mean, honestly, right? It's too hard to remember 5. Bring it down to 3. And I promise you, this is a characteristic. The things that you circled are the things that you value, and you operate from your values. Let me give you an example. I value growth because I know it's a quality, a characteristic of a leader. And because I value growth, then my life revolves around it. When I drive to the gym, I'm listening to some motivational content. When I drive home from the gym, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm in a book study. I want to read the latest article that comes out. You see, because I value growth, I operate that way. And so as a leader, when you value certain things, you operate that way. And it's really cool to do this with a team. Those characteristics, because if you are operating from a certain value that I really don't take very high, then it's hard for us to communicate. But if I know that about you, then it's easier for me to communicate. Guys, I'm talking about things that we don't ever do at schools. We don't do this at schools. Not at all. But see, this is what leadership is all about. These are characteristics that are going to get noticed as leaders in this work. All right, let me talk about the law of proximity as another characteristic. And what I mean by this is you got to get close to the problem. You cannot solve a problem until you acknowledge that you have one and accept responsibility for solving it. How scary is it to go and tell the board, go and tell the principal, go and tell others we've got a problem? See, because nobody likes to hear that. And the law of proximity says, when you got a problem, you name the problem. And when you name the problem, you know the problem and can do something about the problem. I heard a great comment from a teacher on a webinar the other day. And she said, you know what? I don't have enough time. She's an interventionist. I don't have enough time to get through the prescribed curriculum with my kids. And so I don't know what to do about that with the leader. And I said, you know what? The leader needs to see the problem. He's got to get close to the problem. And if he can't get close to the problem, he doesn't know the problem exists. And she said, here's what she said. She said, you know what? I'm going to bring in my admin team and have them sit as children while I deliver the lesson so they can see that I can't get through it. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And if you've got an admin team that says, no, I don't have time for that. Okay, no, we've got a different problem I need to address, okay? So I got to think about the different problem I need to address, that they don't see that I have a problem that needs to be fixed. See, that's what the law of proximity, this is a characteristic of saying, let's get close to the problem, of me leaning into it. And this is where you kind of like, I don't know where to start in making this movement. You start here, what Jim Knight says. To be the educators we want, we have to get a clear picture of our current reality. Team back here, this is where I was telling you. Have we done a comprehensive needs assessment? Do we know what our district needs? Have we done an instructional and curriculum audit? I don't know, have we? Do we know where we are? Have we done an assessment review? Do we have an assessment flow chart? I don't know, do we? Do we know how to look at assessments? I don't know. See, because if we don't get a clear picture of reality, we can't address. These are all characteristics that are going to start to get noticed. Another characteristic that'll start to get noticed is, y'all know this, we're better together. Okay? Do y'all know inherently that we all root for one another, even though you don't believe that or not? Inherently, we kind of do root for other people, but we let our egos get in the way. All right, let's watch a video.
Don't tell that to the parents. Here's Lynn and Rick Raisman watching that routine. Listen.
This is their daughter. Okay, I do need to see hands. The parents in the room and their kids on the field, have you done it? Like, come on. If I just lean in, you'll make the shot, you'll get it. See, this is inherent in all of us. We're better together, friends, and when we root for one another, then this is what John Hattie calls collective teacher efficacy. And so I don't know if you know John Hattie's work, Invisible Learning, but this collective teacher effect has a mean effect size of 1.57. Let me tell you, he said anything above a 0.4 gets things done. This is 1.57, collective teacher effect. See, we're better together. And when we team together, then we make changes. Okay? This is what I love this. A school staff that believes it can collectively accomplish great things is vital for the health of a school. And if they believe they can make a positive difference, then they very likely will. This is that belief factor. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you something. If you're here alone, your first step when you leave here is to go get a friend. Go get a friend. You have to. You can't do this by yourself. The work is too big. See, this is a characteristic that says, I understand we're better together. Another thing that I hear a lot, a characteristic I wanted to hear about, is the law of buy-in. Anybody hear this one a lot? Well, if we could just get the teachers to buy in. Okay, here's what John says about this. You buy into the leader before you buy into the vision. Whoo, that's good, John. Where'd you come up with that? So you buy into the leader before you buy into the vision. The vision could be amazing, but if you don't trust the leader, doesn't mean a hill of beans. I'm going to take it a step further, okay? So it was one of those 1 a.m.s that you get nudged in the night, and I got nudged in the night, mainly because my husband was snoring. So I went upstairs and slept on the couch. And so your brain starts to whirl and twirl. And I'm like, it's not about buy-in because I love words. What if we drop an O into the word buy, buoy up? Okay, it's good. I like that you said that. You're my new best friend. See, because I'm going to buoy you up first. We're not going to talk about vision. I'm going to buoy you up. I'm going to build you up. See, it's not about shame. It's not about blame. It goes back to that relationship that we've been talking about all along. I said I'd come back to consistency, another characteristic. Consistency compounds. It compounds. The more you're consistent, the more results you're going to get. What happens when you've got a block of ice and at 28 degrees it doesn't melt? Nothing happens. So you got the new curriculum. Oh, it's not working. Oh my goodness. Tammy, I don't know why you told us to do this. It's not working. It's just not working. Well, have you consistently done the work, consistently grown your knowledge, consistently looked at the children in front of me, consistently looked at the data, consistently shown up, consistent with your routines? Have you done those things? 29 degrees, we don't see anything. 30, 31, when do we start seeing something? At 32 degrees. There's a little glimmer, maybe. 33 degrees, 34 degrees, 35 degrees. See, consistency compounds. This is a characteristic. And if I am consistent, my leader doesn't want to listen to me, and I am consistently getting good outcomes for children, I'm going to tell you what, that leader is going to take notice. Always. Okay? Consistency compounds. There's a compound interest of getting started. In 2 weeks, you'll feel stronger. In 1 month, you'll start seeing the changes. In 2 months, your colleagues, family, and friends are going to see it too. In 3 months, strangers are going to start to notice, parents of kids. By month 4 or 5, people will be asking you, how'd you do it? See, because this is a characteristic that gets noticed. Consistency compounds. I want y'all to be the Andy Dufresnes of literacy leadership. Y'all love this one? Shawshank Redemption. What did Andy Dufresne do when he wanted a library? Did he come in hot? No, he did not. Every day he wrote a letter and put it on the warden's desk. And then he came back the next day and he put it on the warden's desk. What did he do? He kept coming back. He kept coming back. He kept coming back. And he did it with integrity. He did it with love. He did it with civility. He didn't come in hot. And what happened? The warden finally said, Andy Dufresne, you got your library. And I'm going to tell you what, you're going to get frustrated along the way when nobody listens. Keep being consistent because it's about the children. So one of the things in your packet that I want you to take away from this, and I just want everybody to know, we're not going to do it right now because we don't have time, but this is a growth in learning, friends. Everything that I've been talking about has been building up to this. I want you to get really contemplative about what do I need to do to grow. I have a growth plan. I've got one. I'm intentional about it. See, this is where literacy leadership starts. Okay. I said I was going to teach this one, but I'm almost out of time. So I'm moving on. I'm so sorry. I just had so much good stuff for y'all. That one came from the 5 levels of leadership. One of the things that I want you to take away from today, and y'all may be working on this a little bit this afternoon, is define your problem. As I said, you got to name your problem. And once you know your problem, then I can start to solution things around that problem. Is my problem that I've been doing this work and nobody is listening to me? Okay. Have you said anything to anybody? Or are the conversations just happening in your brain? I wish they would do something. Whoo. I have said something and they won't pay attention. Be the Andy Dufresne. I know we need to get something started. I know we need to get our literacy leadership team started. Well, does anybody know that, or have you just had the conversation in your head? See, if you just had the conversation in your head, nobody can listen to that. Okay? So you got to define your biggest problem, and then based on the lessons learned today, now I can design a path forward. Am I leading up? Am I leading across? Am I leading down? How am I leading? You see, sometimes I believe 6 possible things before breakfast. And one of the things I believe right now, standing here today, November 7th, 2024, is that my 31-year-old son who put out that fire is going to be in the NFL. Wow. He hadn't put on a pair of pads since high school. And I believe that he will be in the NFL. And y'all are saying, okay, there is crazy and there's a next level crazy. And she's crazy. No, she's next level crazy. Okay? See, there's more than one way to the NFL. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you what happened in his journey. He's not there yet. So he went to a football camp. And I'm going to tell you what, he's good. See, he got good first. You can't lead until you get good first. He's getting good. He's good, friends. So he went to a football camp down in Houston where the NFL recruiters are there, and you got to go through all the ranks, go to D1, go up all that to the NFL. And so they came up to him and said, "You're good." Got great feedback. And then they started dishing out assignments for D1 assignments, and he didn't get selected. A guy over here got selected for the same position he does. And he came home mad. I'm going to tell you what, he was hot. In fact, the guy that got selected came over and said, "Zach, I wish I'd have gotten your scores." I'm like, I didn't get nearly as good scores as you did, and I got picked up and you didn't. Well, a couple of weeks later, Zach went to a camp in Atlanta. That same NFL recruiter was there and came up to my Zach and said, "You got picked up for a D1 spot, didn't you?" Zach said, "No, I didn't." That guy's name over here was Zach. They had the same name. See, leadership demands persistence. Leadership demands growth. Leadership demands consistency. Leadership demands that I'm not going to take that. And I'm going to tell you what, that day that young man is in the NFL, you better believe his mama's going to be there with a sign that says, "That's my son." Okay? Friends, y'all are the leaders. You got to believe that you can do it. Are you going to hit across the face, smack down, put in your place? You better believe you are. Because leadership demands responsibility. But we're going to be believers in this work, okay? Me, along with Danielle, our other good friend Teresa, we do a mentorship series. I mean, we dig around in these topics, roll around in these topics. I welcome anybody here to join us. We bring in some of the greatest researchers. We've had Tiffany Hogan. She joined us last night to talk about fidelity, implementation. Y'all are prepared for that. I said I would give you my phone number and my email. You can contact me, call me, because I believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. A good friend of mine, she was on her way in Idaho to the state legislation where she was going to testify. And she texted me and she said, "I don't know if I can do it." I said, "Kim, if not you, then who?" I believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. See, because I believe that this is my job these days, to be there for other people. And I give my phone number intentionally. So the last story I'll tell as we close out is I read this great little book that this guy, Jeff Henderson, wrote. You don't know Jeff Henderson, but you know his work. Anybody ever been to a Chick-fil-A? Jeff Henderson was a chief marketing executive for Chick-fil-A. He's the one that brought that cow to the billboards. Woo! Jeff Henderson was also a marketing exec for the Atlanta Braves. So Jeff wrote this little book. I read it, and in the book, he put his phone number. I'm like, he doesn't mean that. Text him. Are you kidding me? So I wrote up my text, read it a bazillion times, and I hit send. Bam. Okay, so I hit send. And you know what you do sometimes when you write a text, and I'm courage over fear. And then, you get this weird, oh, your Ring doorbell just went off. Oh, and so, but then your phone dings and you're like, oh, was it him? Oh, no, it's just the Ring camera. Oh, okay, what? Oh, it was just a dog out front. Oh, my goodness. I did that for the next 3.5 minutes. And about after 3.5 minutes, I had a video message from Jeff Henderson. Wow, exactly. Because he's a person, he's a leader. And he puts his money where his mouth is. And this is me with Jeff Henderson. See, friends, I'm a possibilist. Okay? This isn't anything great I've done. This is things great you can do in your work. Because you're all leaders. Okay? One of the things that I did for my cat, I told you the last story. Phil, every day, he's passed on. But Phil, I would tell him every day, you are majestic. You are my favorite. Okay? So you are going to stand up and find somebody in this room and tell them, you are majestic, you are my favorite, and then we can have lunch. Stand up and tell them that. Thank y'all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bless you.